We're live.
Good. We are live. Good evening and welcome to the Icecast Live, guys. I am Shane Chebsey and next to me is Mr. Sam Morgan. Good evening, Sam. How you doing, mate?
Good evening, Shane. I'm very well. I'm a lot better since the last time I saw you. Well, last time I saw you, I was fine. But then I got the old vomiting bug.
You did, didn't you? It went through the family, didn't it, mate?
It did, yeah.
No offence, but I was glad to get out of the house. Let's put.
Of course, you came to visit. We went to Coventry last weekend. More of that in a bit. And you came, stayed over my house. You stayed over in the midst of a vomiting pandemic. Two children, me, my missus, all had it. One, my eldest child, she thankfully missed it out. I don't know how she didn't get it. But it was lovely. Yeah. I haven't thrown up like that for a long time. From drinking, I mean.
I'm glad to say that, I took all precautions while I was staying with you. And I managed to avoid that. I never had the throwing up, so that's good. But we had a good time, didn't we, in Coventry? It was a really good festival.
It was eventful. Yeah, we did a live stream.
We did. It was all together. We streamed about 3.5 hours, which is all now available on YouTube, and we are releasing some clips.
I will be surprised to anyone who can sit through 2.5 hours of that, especially as we were learning on the job. Because it was a learning experience.
It was 2.5 hours of us going. Yeah. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is that camera working? Is that microphone working?
I'm like that going. How do I turn this camera? Because I use my camera as a roving reporter. So we went off and spoke to some guests and stuff like that. It was learning live on camera. It was quite. Yeah. I tell you what, next time it's going to be a lot better. A lot.
Yeah. Slicker. We'll learn. We've learned from our mistakes, haven't we?
Yeah.
We'll actually have the proper adapter so that we can get the audio working properly.
Little jacks to big jacks. Oh, that's a killer.
Yeah, little back. That sounds like a song, doesn't it? Okay, I think you've got a little snippet, haven't you, Sam? A little tiny snippet of the stream from last weekend to share with our
during one of my roving reports. I did a little interview. Or rather, you did an interview. I held the camera with Rachel Scott. So let's have a quick look at it.
Rachel Smith.
Rachel Smith. Go.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. We were just talking about you. Were your ears burning?
They're always burning. There's always.
Right.
I'm very fit.
Yeah, of course, I never thought of that. So, how are you finding Coventry?
Oh, it's lovely.
Hang on, was that playing?
Oh, yes, it was playing perfectly until you stopped it.
I'm sorry.
And you put Rachel.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. We were just talking about you. Were your ears burning?
They're always burning. There's always.
Right.
I'm very fit.
Yeah, of course, I never thought of that. So, how are you finding Coventry?
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the pond. So, like the first one. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, but like in a huge marquee.
Yeah.
Look how beautiful.
After the show, I'm having to walk around in a bit.
It's really nice. And you've.
Why aren't you here? What are you doing?
Well,
Why are you
I'm
not
here. I'm in Coventry.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the green room. So
you're in the green room.
Yeah.
I'll say hi to you.
Yeah, come and say hello, and we can have a proper chat where we can hear each other properly. It's really nice to see you, Rachel.
You too. I'll see you in the green room.
That probably gives an idea of some of the audio issues we were facing. And Sam, you put Rachel Scott on the intro
Rachel
there.
Scott.
It's
Rachel
Rachel
Scott.
Smith.
No,
Rachel
it's not.
Smith. Rachel Smith.
No, it's Rachel Scott.
Unless I've had a brain fart. Anyway, we'll move on. So tonight we're talking to some great guests, aren't we? We've got Gary Erskine and Paul Mathews, who are bringing out a brand new book called First Men. I almost said Last Men on Mars. Then First Men on Mars, which looks absolutely stunning. I have to say, they've got an amazing list of creators involved. Have you had a look at it yourself, Sam?
Yes, I have, definitely. It looks really, really good. Good. Very good.
Amazing.
I just Googled it, and officially, you are right. It is Rachel Smith. I'm really sorry, Rachel. I got your name wrong. I'm sorry.
You were thinking of Rachel Stott. That's what you were thinking of.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Who is another ICE regular? You got your Rachels mixed up. That's what it is. Anyway, let's run. There you go.
Yeah.
And she created Quarantine Comics, which has won an award, I believe, and it's just done. It's done absolutely fantastically. So well done, Rachel. And sorry about that. So let's run the VT then, Sam, and we'll bring on our guests for tonight.
Go.
And welcome back to the Icecast Live. And joining us this evening is Mr. Gary Erskine and Paul Mathews. Good evening, fellas.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. And congratulations on the new book,
Thank you.
First Men on Mars, which looks amazing, and it's currently on Kickstarter, isn't it, guys? How long has it got left to go now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Thank
so
you.
plenty of time for people to pledge and pick it up. Well, the first question I wanted to ask was, where did it come from? Where did the idea originate? Was it a joint effort, or was it just one person's vision and then you brought everyone else into the fold?
The original idea was came from myself and Dave West from Accent UK. I'd done a couple of strips for them in 2 of their anthologies, and after that I approached them, asked them if they'd be interested in a script for a full graphic novel, and they were, and that was the beginning of First Men on Mars.
Right.
I pitched the first draft to them, and Dave West came back with the idea of altering it slightly. My original pitch was just one narrative, and Accent UK had recently published Whatever Happened to Thaddeus Mist, which is told from multiple viewpoints, and Dave West suggested that I use that approach for First Men on Mars, and that's why now we have the narrative that the script that we have, which tells the same story from different viewpoints from the different participants and survivors of the mission to Mars.
It was actually, so I was going to say, it's one of the reasons that I actually like the script, because I actually am familiar with that sort of Rashomon, sort of Kurosawa inspired structure. You know, the idea of what people, what someone actually recollects might not always be the truth or fact. And it certainly appealed to me because when I'm at college, I teach narrative design. So that reference, the structure that Dave had suggested to Paul, really popped out towards me. And I think it was just speaking with Paul about, first of all, the commitment that I could put towards the book as not just an artist, but as a concept designer for the world building, realized that it was quite an undertaking. And it may well have been Paul who suggested, but bearing in mind it was different characters' recollections, one of us, possibly both of us at the same time, came up with the idea of having different artists drawing each character's recollection to give it something more specific to show that it is a different recollection. And that's where we managed to bring in Mike Collins, Simon Fraser, and Paul McCaffrey, who are all wonderful artists in their own right, very distinctive styles, but working very much like Judge Dredd. You know, there's so many artists have drawn Judge Dredd. You still know it's a Judge Dredd story.
Yeah.
But this is having 4 different artists within the same story. And I thought that was an interesting proposition. And we both thought that was the way to go. But it was definitely the structure that appealed to me when Paul showed me the script for the first time.
It's a great way of utilizing all that talent as well, isn't it? And it works. It's not sort of being done just for the sake of it. It actually works, like you say. You've got those different viewpoints, so the different styles complement those different. What I wanted to ask was, because it's from different characters' points of view, do they change? Are they different? You know, do different characters have different recollections?
Very much so. Yeah.
And do they conflict? I mean, does that form part of the narrative? The fact that there's these conflicting recollections.
Yeah, the viewpoints vary according to the not just the perspective, but the ulterior motives of the person relaying that particular part of the narrative. One particular character is keen to gloss over his culpability in well, I don't want to give too much away, but it's safe to say that it's very much the steampunk version of the mission to Mars that went wrong. And he's keen to gloss over his culpability in the failure, not failure, but the issues represented in the story.
I mean, I love the idea. Sorry, go on, Gary.
Oh, I was going to say is almost another thing that certainly intrigued me, but I think will also intrigue readers, is that you might not be able to guess whose testimonies, whose recollections are actually true or not. You know, that we're not going to give the spoilers in the first issue. So another thing that intrigued me is the fact that it's a puzzle of sorts. It's a mystery. It's kind of like an Agatha Christie story of sorts, where you're being presented with information and you're either told it or shown it, but you're not told what is true or, you know, or whether it's been changed or not. And I think that will hopefully keep the readers guessing. I mean, I obviously know I ask Paul and he gives me the spoilers, but for the readers, I think for them, what they'll get is this sense of who can you trust? Whose recollection is the one to believe in? You'll still see some wonderful stories unfold, but at the back of your mind, it's like trying to fit all the pieces together. And I think the puzzle will be another bonus towards the entertainment of the story itself.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I love narratives like that are full of sort of inconsistencies, if you like, between the truth and the lies and the stories. And how did you track that, Paul? Was it quite hard to plot that and still make it, you know, an entertaining story?
I wouldn't say it was particularly difficult. I think knowing the core stream of events and then adapting that to suit every character's narrative, that was it wasn't difficult. It presented a particular challenge. But for me part of writing is about challenges and overcoming not difficulties, but rationalizing how you're going to present certain pieces of information, certain viewpoints, key elements of the narrative. So it was just, it wasn't particularly difficult, but it was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? When something is so heavily involved in plot, like something like this has to be, I suppose it's hard sometimes. I've found when I've spoken to other writers, is that it's sometimes difficult to ensure that the characters behave as the way they should, you know, and they're not just behaving in a way that serves what has to happen in the plot. You know, that's probably the challenge that I was probably thinking that might occur. But it sounds like you've overcome that. So we've got some artwork to look at. Sam, if you're able to, is he there? Has he disappeared? He's disappeared. He's gone to the toilet or something. So let's have a look. I can share this, I think. Let's have a look. Oh no, that's the trailer. We need to stop that. No, it's going to play whether I like it or not. There we go. So there is a trailer as well, and we'll come to that later. Oh, Sam's coming back now. Sam, we need you. We want to look at some artwork. So the artists involved, as you say, you've got Mike Collins, you've got
Simon Fraser.
Simon Fraser. I mean, the caliber there is incredible, and Paul McCaffrey, who we spoke to actually at the weekend because he was at Coventry. Yeah, he was in Coventry at the festival, and he joined us in the pub. So we have got a little bit of an interview with Paul.
We've got
that
Paul.
Was fun, wasn't it, Sam?
It was great fun. We've got Paul doing an interview, and then basically an hour of us just chatting in the pub. We got so many comments of people of FOMO going, oh, I wish I was in the pub with you. That was really fun. We need to do that again, definitely.
So, Sam,
would you like to see some art?
We would like to see some artwork. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure the viewers would like to see some artwork as well.
There's two of them.
Yes.
Boom. We do get a lot more views after the fact. So
yes. Ooh, that's beautiful.
That's Simon Fraser's artwork. That's stage.
Hang on. And let's just go back to here. Right. So we got the covers first.
Oh, then there's more than one cover to this, isn't there, guys?
There are three variant covers. Mark Lamming, Staz Johnson, and Lee Carter. From 2000 AD. These were promotional pieces to lead into the Kickstarter, giving a flavour of some of the characters. We have the first character was Kandake. This is Jan van Dommelen, who's an aviatrix. And then we have, I believe it's, Prospero. And the idea was certainly leading with Kandake, to have a book called The First Men on Mars and to lead with a very strong black woman, really kind of mix things up a bit, and then to follow with Domelin. And there's Kandake in her full Martian environmental suit. I think it was, and we did the same trick with the trailer. It's to show something a bit more unexpected than the steampunk you would normally expect. The dragons flying over Mars, I think, is something that really evokes John Carter of Mars. That's
I'm getting strong Medius Aras.
Yes, Arzak, yep. Oh, very much so. And also Avatar.
Yeah,
there's to mention Avatar.
Yeah, I mean, they're great influences, aren't they? I mean, you know, and John Carter is iconic, and I think whenever you do something that's sort of retro on Mars, people are always going to invoke John Carter, aren't they? I think it's inevitable. But
the name of the character is Prospero. Are you going for a Forbidden Planet type of vibe? Tempest.
Couldn't possibly comment.
Well, it's pretty obvious if you're going to call it.
Again, though, another wonderful influence. Probably one of the most, one of my favorite retro sci-fi movies of all time.
Who, William Shakespeare?
Well,
He did
yes,
yeah.
The Tempest, yes. But Forbidden Planet was it was a great movie.
Leslie, what's his name from
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. Restaurant role for Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
That's great.
A leading man.
The graphics when the invisible creature is trapped.
Oh yeah,
in the
fantastic.
Fence, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, way ahead its time.
The id. Yeah, it's very, very good stuff.
Anyway,
so
back to the art.
some more now. So what we got here?
That's The Martian itself. It was a tough call because although Paul has written the script, we had to very quickly nail the representation of the Martian. We didn't go for the 4 arms that John Carter had, but it still had to look both humanoid and alien. And there are judgment calls you have to make when you design a character like that, and the armor as well. But as we may well see later tonight, Staz Johnson has provided us an absolutely stunning variant cover, working from this particular design, evoking John Carter and Frazetta, and it's come out an absolute treat. So I'm getting chills seeing another artist I respect using my designs. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Paul, do you want to describe who these guys are?
Come back, Sam.
Okay.
Come back. Who are these
Come
guys?
Back. I'm not a shepherd dog.
He just keeps moving. Keep still, Sam. Come by. Where's he gone? Where's that cover gone?
Which one?
That one. There we are. This is intriguing.
Paul?
So these, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give any of the key plot points away, but these are some bipedal geezers that are wandering around on Mars.
Is that the scientific term for?
Absolutely, yeah.
The Martian geezers.
I'm well known for my scientific accuracy. Ask any of my old role-playing chums; they'll tell you how good I am at my science. Which is why I like steampunk, because you don't need to know anything about science.
That's all. Make it all up. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So these guys are wandering around on the surface of the planet. The expeditionary party don't know who they are, don't know where they came from, but they do find out.
Well, we don't want, like you say, we don't want to give too much away, do we? But
no.
It's interesting that there's more than one creature design.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam. Go on.
I said a tank on Mars.
Yes. Yep. You're not looking like it's in very good condition either.
I think
one previous owner.
What we tried to do with the promotions was to, as I say, leading with a black female character, and then with the Dutch girl Van Dommelen. The first character you see in the trailer is Lady Wells Cavendish, and there's a couple of name checks there if you know your history. Certainly with Margaret Cavendish, the writer of The Blazing World, which Alan Moore talks about. That's 1666. I mean, this lady was like doing John Carter like 300 years before Edgar Rice Burroughs. But from a visual point of view, what we wanted to put across was a title, First Men on Mars, and then contradict that with what appears to be a WW1 tank.
And with the women there first.
Is
the men... Oh, that's a spoiler.
Yeah, just throwing in imagery that contradicts the title, and the dragons as well flying, and the Martian itself. To give a sense of what to expect without giving spoilers. And it's a very tricky thing to do with promotion.
It is.
When trailers are giving you away plot points in 30 seconds, and you don't need to see the film.
Yeah.
So
you see that a lot. You get that a lot in Hollywood, don't you? Now you watch a trailer. Sometimes you really do think, well, I've seen it now. They've shown you the beginning, the middle, and the end. Yep.
You watch it, and halfway through you go, wait, I'm getting too much. I'm going to stop. And sometimes you go, well, look, you've already sold me. I'm going to go and watch the next Marvel film. Why am I watching the trailer? I don't want to you've sold me. It's
Yeah,
but you gotta
yeah.
sell
I
people,
don't
not-
need those big surprises. How good would it be if you could go into like a Spider-Man movie and be surprised by the villains who turn up instead of knowing about it months? You know, I
It's a
noticed
very
on this.
difficult balancing act, though, because
Yeah,
you've got to promote the people. If you just say Spider-Man opening December the 24th,
yeah,
I'm in already. But,
yeah. That's sold. Yeah,
Yeah,
Spider-Man. Yeah, that's sold. But yeah, I get you're right. And with this, I noticed. I mean, we'll watch the trailer in a minute, but it evokes. Sorry, this atmosphere, this promise of really interesting ideas. There's enough visuals there. There's enough style there to sort of give the prospective reader an idea. And to get excited about it. I mean, this image of the tank, there's a lot of storytelling in that image, which I really like, because you're asking questions at why is there a tank on Mars? Why is it damaged? Why is it a World War One tank? You know, those, and you just want those answers to be given to you, which makes you want to get the book. So I think you've got the balance right there.
without spoiling anything, and I do appreciate Paul's caution in not giving out too much information about those odd
Plantman.
creatures, because we want to intrigue without saying, "Oh, this is the villain and this is the hero." And it's a very fine balancing act to draw people in, but not reveal all the sort of plot twists and reveals. It's just a bit of a balancing act, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's our cover, which kind of the bridge again, which was a very clever device that Paul had. The perihelion gate, a portal, like a Time Bandits portal, but circular. This idea that our heroes could go from the middle of Africa to Mars just by passing through a stargate of sorts.
Yeah.
It saved a lot of scientific, technical explanation of how the hell with steam do they get. And also allows me to create imagery like this, where you see quite clearly it's near enough the same horizon, but you've got this juxtaposition of them on Mars, and in the background, the lush green sort of savannas of Africa. And again, just from a color point of view, it works really, really well. And we show in the trailer the reverse, Africa looking through the portal to Mars. And it was just a lot of fun to play with those images.
I bet. I mean, I suppose now is as good a time as any to, because we've been talking about it, is to have a look at the trailer. Sorry,
see
Sam.
some more of the actual artwork, or should we go?
We can. Well, let's look at the trailer, and then we'll come back to the art. So if we play the trailer, Sam, and if you guys want to sort of comment on any aspects of it as we're playing it.
Let's watch the trailer, then we'll do.
We'll just watch it. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. Yeah, we'll watch it first.
Yeah, no Spider-Man in it.
Okay, that video stream was not working.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to play the actual file. I think that's probably
That was the file. It worked
was it?
perfectly before.
That's a shame.
Oh, it's so
Oh,
annoying.
the internet.
Sorry. But it's on YouTube. Go and check
Yeah.
it out. It's a great trailer. Absolutely great.
Yeah, it is. So that's a shame it doesn't play. It was playing earlier.
I have the same issue with teaching. Video streaming can be incredibly problematic, unfortunately, over these sorts of formats.
Yeah. We've had a comment from Jatinder.
Oh, hello,
regular.
Jatinder.
Hi,
Hey,
Jatinder.
Tinder.
Can you please post the link to the Kickstarter? Her, I think he means here. Yeah. Let's do that. I will sort. Sam's gone away to sort that out. So we will do that to Tinder. We'll get that sorted. So sorry about the trailer not working, guys. Because it looked really exciting, and I have to say, I've said it before, I do love that music.
Yeah.
Where did you find that music? Is it just something that you put together, or is it something that you were able to obtain sort of a royalty-free site or something like that?
Well, first of all, I hold on. I've actually lost the screen because I went to cut and paste the link for Jatinder, and now I can't find. I've got too many tabs open. The piece of music,
I'm doing the thing for Tinder, Gary. Don't worry.
oh no,
I'm getting the link.
I'll try and find my way back. No, the piece of music is obviously Host, the Planet Suite, Mars, the Bringer of War. The version that I was cutting to was actually von Karajan's conducting the Berliner Philharmoniker from 1981, which is possibly the best version. I then realized that the license was too expensive. Deutsche Grammophon are not cheap. So I went with a more recently recorded version. The credits are actually on YouTube. I think it's Shockwave Sound. The problem was the 7.5 minute piece of music was actually 7 minutes long, so it was slightly faster. So I had to go in and recut just to get everything back into sync. But it's a gorgeous piece of music.
Yeah.
If any of your viewers are actually familiar with it, they'll probably hear a lot of cues that John Williams used in the original Star Wars music, certainly with the Death Star. But no, it was a favorite piece of music. I used the last 3 minutes of it. There's kind of a break in the middle, and it just synced in with the artwork, which we'll actually see next. But I took the artwork that we'd produced with the color by Yael Zamor and just cut it apart and allowed it to be animated almost like a motion comic.
Yes.
So it's not Pixar, but it certainly helps add movement and life to comic pages. And when you cut it to the music, it just brings it all together and makes it a little bit more lively, shall we say.
Yeah. Certainly more lively than the version that just streamed anyway. So has Yael done all of the colouring for the book then?
No. Yael has coloured my artwork and Paul McCaffrey's pages, and the Simon Fraser pages that we saw earlier were done by John Paul Beauvais, who is not just a colorist, he's also a writer as well. He was someone else I've worked with previously. And again, having two different colorists helps. They're both at the very top of their jobs. But, it was also to split the workload as well.
Yeah,
I'm back. I found the button. It's a little red one just there.
Oh, see, for us, you never disappeared. You've been there all along.
No, but I have 30 tabs open, so I kind of lost everybody cutting and pasting. The cutting and pasting that over there.
So, the guys that you brought on board, how did that come about? Did you go looking for those guys? Did you have them in your head? I mean, or was it? Was it a bit of a casting call to get the artists and the colorists? And I think it's Annie Parkhouse, isn't it, is doing your letters?
Sorry, of course. Annie, I've worked with since about 30 years. And there was a point where, when I had a lot of regular work on Star Wars, when it was still with Dark Horse, I was in a position to basically keep her on the book. A lot of publishers will insist that they use their team. I didn't it wasn't a distrust of their team. It was a complete trust of Annie.
Yeah.
So I managed, when I was in a more favourable position, to keep her on board. That sort of fell away when I moved to teaching and more commercial games work. But we definitely, I think Paul and I both definitely wanted Annie on the book regardless. Just one of the top industry people. And I think the rest was just it was a collective wish list. Paul, you had Simon Fraser as a favourite, didn't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was very, very pleased when Gary told me that Simon was interested. And Paul McCaffrey.
Oh.
The first thought bubble that I went to some years ago now, I bought a comic called The Last Days of Man.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Absolutely loved it. And it's by Paul McCaffrey. So I was
Yeah.
oh, sorry, the artwork is by Paul McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So again, I was thrilled when Gary told me that Paul was interested in working on the book.
Yeah, I think he's perfect. Actually, his style, really lends itself to steampunk and sort of that sort of retro.
Yeah.
The way he lights his pages, the lighting and the textures he uses, and it's so distinctive. Paul's work instantly, don't you?
Yeah,
it's got a very European look. I'm a huge fan of Enki Bilal, and although most people are familiar with the Woman Trap, the Gods of Chaos trilogy, where it was more painted, there's a lot of stuff he did earlier, like the Hunting Party and Exterminator 17. That is, I happen to mention that as an aside to Paul's work when he sent in the line art in black and white, and I got it on the head. That is one of his influences. He's got a lovely mixture of Mobius and early Bilal, very European sensibility.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you saw his recent work on Adler for Titan Books, but that was just, in fact, he actually asked me to do a variant cover for that series, and Yale and I contributed one. I think it was issue 4 or 5. But his work on Adler, I think, just again set around the same time, had a sort of subtle steampunk edge to it. It was a perfect choice, and it was coincidence that Paul was also a huge fan. It just made our decision much easier.
Sam, have we got some of Paul's work there so we can show the viewers some of Paul McCaffrey's work? He's thinking. I can see him scratching his beard. Because it would be really. Oh, there we go. We've got some Adler.
Oh yes. That was a wonderful series. It's definitely, if any of your viewers haven't picked it up, it may well be collected now. I think the original issues came out last year, but his work on that was phenomenal.
The classic iconic airships there. So they're all sort of signals, aren't they, of that sort of steampunk sensibility. We don't need a sci-fi now advert, Sam. That's the problem when you go on these websites. Sometimes they don't give you. You just all you want to do is look at a picture.
You never know what's going to pop up.
Yeah, they throw you all sorts of
sign
stuff.
up for anything.
Yeah, no, I don't want to sign up to anything at all. I just want to look at the artwork. But yeah, I mean that Adler was lovely, and and also Paul's sort of, when he does his own colouring as well, his palette is just so distinctive. He's got a real sort of natural ability, I think, just to pick out the perfect colours.
Well, unfortunately, because you may have seen some of the work that he's posted the last couple of days, Paul wasn't in a position to actually colour his own work, but because we work as a team, everyone sees the work coming in, and as soon as Yale saw the line art from Paul, I think the expression was grabby hands. They really wanted to colour it, and because of Paul's other schedule, he wasn't able to do the full job.
Yeah.
And I agree, he's got such a very distinctive colour approach and lighting approach. But Yale understood that, and one of the strengths that Yale has as a colorist is that they can adapt. And Yale's color on my Roller Girls project is very different to this, which is very painterly. It's different to the mainstream coloring we do for Warheads for Marvel. So I think Paul and I were both very pleased when we saw the color pages come back. And even Paul was kind of like, this is how I would color it. This is the palette I would use. And this is the approach to color. And that's when you get two people that work together as a team like that, the pages look amazing. So we're very pleased about that. I think it worked out quite fortuitous.
Yeah, I think that's the sign of a good colorist, isn't it? When they understand instinctively what the artist is trying to do, when they get the sensibilities, and Yale obviously has that ability to read what the artist, you know, is looking to do, and it's fantastic to see that. So who else have we got? So you've also got Staz Johnson on board. Is Staz just doing covers, or is he doing interiors as well?
He's just doing a variant cover at the moment. I think Paul will probably correct me here. Paul, do we have another character coming in part 2? There's like, we need another artist for part 2.
Another two testimonies in the second issue.
Yeah. So I think Staz would when you see his cover, you understand. I think he's so suited with his work that Staz would be someone we'd very much like to have as another distinctive artist for that particular character. If there's 2, I'll probably have to have another think about who to bring on. But we've been blessed by having people at the top talent at the height of their game, producing good work. And as I say, having the colorists, Yale and John Paul, keeps a sort of continuity across the book, while also being very sort of understanding towards each artist's style and approach. But I would imagine Staz Johnson, if he'll stay with us, he would be a wonderful addition to the further character's testimony and flashback. If there's a 5th one, we'll have to go away and have a wee decide about that. But yeah,
I think the difficult part sometimes at the moment, when you're looking at the talent that is available, it's actually making a choice between, isn't it? I mean, because there's so many great artists out there, and what I found as well is there are amazing artists who aren't really doing a lot in mainstream comics at the moment, who should be, and these guys are available, to work on indie books and create their own projects, and it's great for it's great for us, and it's great for the readers, and it's really opening things up now, because the mainstream, like I call it, it's not the mainstream really, is it? But the superhero market, Marvel, DC, and all that, it's very narrow now, and it's a very narrow set of creators. And there are all these other amazing creators who've got loads of experience, who can tell a story, who are an amazing draftsman, who are just looking for work a lot of the time, and so we can snap them up. Have you found that?
I disappear from time to time because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy working in the games industry, and I actually teach film, narrative, and games design, as well as actually do storyboarding for games and such like. We had a wish list. Won't mention any names because it'll just embarrass them. But there are other options outside comics, and when you get television and film companies ostensibly asking you to do the same job but throwing huge checks at you, it's very very distracting, shall we say. I mean, we all love comics, but it is hard work for all the concept design and the hours that you put in. And I can see how something like film and television would be enticing, in games design. I mean, I've done it myself. So we'll still Paul and I, we have a list, and we'll keep pestering certain individuals. I think we both know who's at the top. But these things happen, schedule conflicts, other commitments, either within the comic industry or without. It's just constantly trying to juggle things. But who knows what will happen? But definitely Staz Johnson, the cover that he sent literally 10 minutes before we came on air is absolutely stunning. And once that's coloured up, it will look an absolute treat. And we'd love to have him on board to do some more. I think he's just got the style for it.
Perfect. I mean, Staz actually did the branding artwork for Ice on the podcast. It's one of his characters. It's quite a retro character. It's a rocket girl, I think. Yeah, and it's so beautifully rendered, and it's just perfect. It's perfection. I mean, he's a great artist. Very, very underrated, I think. He should be a massive superstar because he's so good, so consistent. His drawing is good. His storytelling, it's just faultless. So it's really exciting
It's good to have him back because he kind of disappeared for a while after having a huge. I think there was a lot of work on Batman, a lot of work at DC, and then
X-Men as well. I think.
Yeah, and he just took a sabbatical, probably working in film and television. And I think it's great to see him come back. And I think it was the Rocket Girl, although he's work on, he's been doing a lot of commissions like Rogue Trooper and stuff like that. But I agree, the Rocket Girl, I think, really cemented him as someone who would bring that sensibility, that steampunk sort of sensibility to the cover. Because the Rocket Girl kind of sinks in with the steampunk aesthetic.
Yeah, and so you just alluded earlier on as well about a second issue. So, because this is quite a big book, isn't it? How many pages is this book?
Paul,
that depends on how generous the backers are.
Right. So
there's definitely enough. There's definitely enough material for another 2 books at 64 pages.
Right, so 64-page book.
Yeah,
that's quite a big book.
Three 64-page books.
Right. Yeah. Cool. That's
so
really
it's
exciting.
Quite substantial rather than a 20-page comic, which you can read in minutes sometimes. So I think the page count gave better value, so people could really invest in the story and the art. There's the perihelion gate.
Yeah, that's great. And the airships. That's just fantastic.
Yeah. Again, Paul wrote a very clear, concise script of what needed to be shown. And it's just a case of researching, designing the characters, presenting them in a certain way. But if your viewers actually go and check out the trailer on YouTube, you'll actually see that double-page spread come alive. There's about 8 layers where the perihelion gate is spinning, and you've got a sense of perspective, like that Jaws thing where you zoom in, but the characters pull back. Quite, and even this page has certain sort of zoom in, zoom out, and the last 2 panels were done like a Brian De Palma split screen. So there's a lot of playfulness involved. And the last double-page spread, I basically ripped it apart digitally and created vignettes with all, rather than it being a montage, I actually gave all the individual sequences their own sort of moment, and they kind of went into the promotional art as well. And that's what happens when you work with a colorist like Yell, who delivers the artwork in layers, allowing me to then animate it and get more use out of it. It saves a lot of time and gives just a lot of possibilities with it.
But I would imagine that animating the artwork and creating the trailer, which is what you did yourself, wasn't it, Gary? Was that very time consuming to do that?
Cutting up the artwork, and then like if I cut where Lady Wells Cavendish is sitting down, I'd actually have to cut around her and then paint in the background just to allow it to zoom in with a subtle parallax. Some scenes were easier than others. Some new art, people had to have their legs drawn because they moved and they would reveal themselves behind a table. So there were some elements that were complex. But this montage, I actually drew this on separate sheets. So
Right.
it was coloured on separate sheets, and that allowed me to move it around in scale to present it for a double page spread, but also allow me to take, as you can see there, Kandaki in the top left, and then all the other characters, allow them to take them separately and use them, recycle them basically, and give them more sort of prominence on their own. But I think we've done a good job in showing the potential of the story without showing any major spoilers. There's enough visual interest, and the narrative that you can see there by Wells Cavendish is enough of a taster without saying, oh, here's the villain of the piece and here's, you know, a big character reveal. It's a juggling act to make sure that you both sell and intrigue without spoiling anything.
Definitely. And on the Kickstarter itself, I'm sure there are some enticements as well. I mean, obviously you can get the book in various covers. Do you have some sort of little bonus things that people can get on the Kickstarter if they're thinking of pledging?
Paul?
Yes. Yeah, we've got quite a few 4 documents that they're in the process of being created at the moment. We've got letters from Lady Wells Cavendish written to her family, some court documents that are used throughout the hearing that forms the background to the story, paintings and sketches done by one of the characters called Holstein, who's a German scientist, and some other things.
Wow, 202 backers already. That's really good.
Thank you. I think one of the things we decided to do with the back on the add-ons, rather than a badge, and actually a badge would have been cool, rather than badges and all these other seemingly superfluous items. One thing I always remember from the original Watchmen, and I'm old enough to remember when it was individual comics, not the graphic novel.
Yeah, me too, man.
It was a supplementary.
We all are. We're all that old, Gary.
The fact that issue like Rorschach's documents from the psychiatrist, the fact that they had the under the hood, the serialization of the book written by one of the characters in the story, that always intrigued me, and I found that an exciting additional resource beyond just reading the comic. So that's why, as Paul alluded to, we have one of the characters, Holstein, who is an explorer, and you see his sketchbook, you have his notes and his photographs. So you actually have stuff that is not just related to the book, but is actually created by one of the characters in the book. And having Wells Cavendish and all these other characters supply the add-ons, it's to give a more immersive reading experience. And the way Paul's written even some of the court documents, although there's maybe a mention in the story and you maybe have a glimpse of the letter to Lillian written by Bethany, written by Lillian Wells Cavendish. When you see all the letters, you realize that the motivations behind the characters, their thoughts that are not in the comic itself, but add to that experience, and and clues within the documents that you maybe help you figure out the puzzle. So it's trying to make it more than just a 64-page graphic novel with pictures and words. It's trying to harken back to that Watchmen with all these additional sort of elements that help make it a richer, immersive experience.
I really like that. I really like that idea because it, like you say, it adds to the world building, which makes it much more immersive. But also, it just adds value, doesn't it? Right? You know, I mean, badges and prints and all that are all very good, but when you've actually got add-ons that are part of the universe that you've created, it just makes you feel like you're getting so much more for your book. And I think that's really important when you're doing Kickstarters like this to add that value. You know.
There's also a Victorian map of Mars, and there were legitimate maps of Mars, but to have that created as the map that the characters on the expedition are following, you know, little details like that they can actually open it out in the comic and someone can follow it, and then you've literally got it in your hand or on your wall, and you can chart the progress. Little details like that. It's what made me excited about comics.
Yes.
Comics could be more than just the printed page. It could be appendices like Watchmen. It could be additional pull-out maps or sketchbooks.
It's like when you get the DVD extras, isn't it? I mean, I remember buying the big box sets of the Lord of the Rings when that came out, and I trawled all the way through that stuff. I mean, there's hours and hours of material on there, and it brings you into the world. You know, when you add all this detail, even if it's not, you know, a main part of the story, it just helps you immerse yourself in that world.
Well, funnily
150 quid for a Prince Albert. I mean, you better make sure you're ordering a comic, or you're going to be sorely disappointed and slightly ripped off, because that's quite expensive.
It's a price that will make your eyes water in more ways than one.
So what's in the Prince Albert? What's in the Prince Albert then? What's that?
It starts with the if you scroll further back.
Don't do that movement with your hand there, Gary.
But if you scroll that way, I think it starts with the British. No, the one before, Holstein's packet, the Martian. Yeah, you start with the Martianry, and then there's another add-on, then another add-on. It made it easier than just a shopping list with every reward. Ultimately, the Queen Victoria's the daddy. That's the wrong word, but that's the main one.
And that's got everything in it, basically. All of the stuff.
Yeah.
But they all look good. They look very good. I mean,
thank you.
And you're looking at the basic, the bite size, £5. That's pretty good. And £10. I mean, it's a 64-page comic. So I mean, that's price standard.
It's £10. The print that you get the printed book for £10.
Yeah. Yes.
He's so shocked, he stalled.
Shane's frozen. He's iced.
Yeah.
Hey.
He's so shocked about it. Yes.
I've frozen.
Oh, you're still there though.
We can hear you.
I'm going to take myself
how
out.
How are we doing for pledges then so far, and how long have we got?
We've got 2 weeks. We're a bit behind. But we're hoping that there'll be like a late surge. There's been some scheduling issues with variant covers, which have obviously meant that we can't actually show them. But we'll get the colour done on Stasi's over the weekend, because there's been quite a few people interested in that, and the same with Mark Lamming and Lee Carter. And Lee Carter's work in 2000 AD has been absolutely stunning recently. So looking forward to that.
Have we?
I mean, you're familiar with that, aren't you, Sam? You're a big 2000 AD reader.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. Current 2000 AD reader at the moment. Can I just ask you a question about 2000 AD? Your 2000 AD work, Gary?
It's very fleeting, but yeah.
Well, okay.
Oh, man.
He's giving you full screen treatment. Oh. What are you doing, Sam?
Hello? Oh, wow, that's really weird. Oh, hello. Right, wow. That was dizzy. Doing that.
Yes. Hi, Gary. Thanks for...
Hello.
Oh, there you go, up there, aren't you? Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining me on this little chat about 2000 AD.
Yep.
You actually did a Judge Dredd, didn't you? You drew a Judge Dredd back in around Prague 700, I think.
741.
741. Oh, he knows the number.
I know the number because a roller derby team actually made me Halifax Bruising Banditas at Thought Bubble, made me a t-shirt with the number 741, and I didn't know what the number meant, and they told me that was your first Judge Dredd.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
They were really decent.
Yeah, so you've done a few things in the prog. That Judge Dredd, that was with Garth Ennis.
Yes.
Are you a fan of his work?
Oh, we've worked several times. In fact, the War Stories.
War Stories, yes. Yeah, I do like those War Stories.
War Stories, the first one was inking Chris Weston on Johann's Tiger. And then book 2 was, can't remember who, I think Carlos Esquera and David Lloyd were in that as well. And it was Archangel was the story. And I drew the whole thing. So I've worked on those. And yeah, the first Judge Dredd was a Garth Ennis one, twin blocks. It was a Twin Peaks pastiche.
Yeah, no, I must dig that up. I remember it's got a Chris Weston cover, isn't it?
Hold on.
It's got it in hand.
There you go. That's the first one.
Ah, yeah.
Oh.
War Stories,
Oh.
excellent.
Oh, I don't just have these lying around, but I was using them for. There you go, Garth Ennis. So Carlos Esquera, Cam Kennedy, David Lloyd, and myself. That's quite an intimidating crowd of people to be part. Oh, and Dan Dare. I forgot about that. Dan Dare isn't on my shelf there.
Yes.
It's in the
Again,
back.
another classic 2000 AD character. Did you read 2000 AD in the early days?
Oh, very, very much so. Very much so. I mean, I was probably, it came out 77. I was 9 years old when it first came out, and you had the glorious days of Flesh, Shackle, Judge Dredd, Mach 1, all those stories. And I absolutely loved it, but I can't remember which issue, maybe in the 20s or something. I brought it home to show my mum, and she banned me from, like, I think it was the cover was the guy in the space helmet with a frog inside. And it was a bowling cover, and my mum just
Judge Dredd part of the Judge Child quest?
No, it was a Future Shock, and my mum just found it the most offensive thing she'd ever seen. So for about 3 years, I had to go to a friend's house to read it before I was old enough to actually buy it myself. But bit of a Star-Lord fan, though, I have to say.
You were a fan of the glossy covers. I'm too young for Star-Lord and all that, but I do like those covers. The glossy covers of Star-Lord are amazing.
There might be a copy over there. Star-Lord actually reminded me of the sort of European market. It had a sort of that sensibility, like Metal Hurlong, the French magazine that turned into heavy metal in the US. I mean, I would only have been about 10 or 11 at the time, but it seemed different. And that Strontium Dog story, I feel, is a better debut than Dredd. I mean, Dredd's iconic, but there was something Carlos Esquera did in that first episode that still is astounding.
I mean, you've got so many things that crossed over from Star-Lord to 2000 AD, the ABC Warriors. Yeah, it was definitely ahead of its time. Definitely.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you read 2000 AD now?
I still pick up. Yes, again, it's a mess here. I still pick up the paper copies. Not done this yet.
Yeah, I do a video reviewing each episode of 2000 AD.
Oh, so, right, cool.
And I'm quite positive sometimes, though. I say it like it is, but I still think 2000 AD now is just it went through the doldrums in the 90s, definitely, but there's so many good things in 2000 AD at the moment. I think absolutely.
I would agree, and also the fact that they brought out the magazine, and then there was that. Was it still IPC or was it Fleetway when they brought out Crisis? And that had that political edge as well.
Yeah. I love Crisis. But Crisis hit me just when I got into 2000 AD. I mean, you had Third World War with Pat Mills and Carlos Esquera, and the second story, the superhero story with John
New
Smith.
New Statesman.
Yes.
But then you had Garth Ennis's Troubled Souls. And my personal favourite, Truth Faith. That blew my mind.
God, oh, yes.
So good.
And I think it was necessary when Marvel and DC were so obsessed with superheroes. And it's a big market. There's a big audience for that. I always felt that 2000 AD, Star-Lord, Tornado offered something different. And then you had a political twist and either up front or more subtle with Crisis. I thought the British market was very creative, and I can't quite get to them because of the way my desk is sorted, but Warrior magazine
Oh, yes.
Warrior was,
Yeah.
hold on. Warrior was tremendously influential. In fact, I can't get to it.
Is this a
There we
Warrior?
go. Well, yeah.
We always have a section where everybody's going to their cupboards and grabbing their books. You know?
Oh,
There you
nice. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't got those. I haven't got that yet, but I do have. I got number 1. Oh, yes. Yeah, brilliant. So I am a big fan of the recent progs. One more thing, Gary.
I'll show you this.
Oh, nice. Ah,
Signed by
boy,
Alan Moore in
Nice.
Glasgow.
Cool.
Issue
One
3.
final quick question. I'm a big Grant Morrison fan, and Invisibles I absolutely loved. But can you tell me what on earth this was about?
I only inked it, and I still don't know what's going on.
Honestly, this I mean, I love Grant Morrison, but this makes no sense whatsoever.
I was getting the pages in order daily, literally daily. And look at, you'll know a lot of the detail on those pages. Chris was working on those.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
So fast.
Great.
And then we got a kind of shorthand where I knew how much detail he wanted to put in. So if he did 5 lines, I'd put in 10. So we kept the momentum going. But they were coming in so fast, I couldn't make head nor tail of it. I didn't have access to the script, but with Chrissy's pencils, they're so tight. You can see everything is laid out. But it was just a wonderful, I think it was about 18 months we spent working on that. A bit of a slow lead into it. But by the end of it, it was literally a page a day. And it was just some of the most imaginative, wonderful art I've ever been part of.
I mean, I think even with the script, you might have been struggling, but it does look absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
but,
thank you.
It is great
anyway,
stuff, that.
Thanks for that, Gary, and keep reading that 2000 AD.
Will do.
That section will be regurgitated on Sam's channel at some point. I'm
imagining.
Yeah. I'll send you the link if you don't mind. I do like videos and stuff like that. So anyway,
So we allow Sam to hijack the ice cast occasionally so that he can do 2000 AD segments. But guys, we have reached the end of the hour. We've gone over the hour, in fact. It's gone so quickly because we've had so much to talk about. And all I can say is thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I'm really good.
Thank you.
I'm going to pledge towards the first Men of Mars, definitely, because it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you guys,
so should you.
Yes, everyone watching and watching later on, if you're tuning in after the live and you're watching it on Facebook or anywhere or YouTube or Twitch, make sure you go and pledge to First Men on Mars. The link is displayed on the screen, or it has been displayed on the screen. Get on there, check out the trailer. It looks absolutely fantastic. Brilliant creators involved. And that's all I can say, really. And so thank you again, Paul and Gary, for coming onto the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Gary.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Play that VT, Sam, and let's roll out, shall we?